All right, guys, welcome to another edition of the Pop-Up Worship Collective. This is our podcast, and today we have a special guest with us. We have Pastor Raul Carrasco, right?
That's right, Raul Carrasco.
Welcome, brother, welcome. As usual, I'm Tom, this is AJ. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here and being part of what we're creating, what we're doing within the kingdom. So having Pastor Raul here is very important to us, just because he's one of those people who means a lot, specifically to me. Very motivational, very just so you know, you're very motivational, you're very inspiring. As a collective, we're like everybody knows, we're from different churches, different places. So we don't have a backing from a specific place or a specific pastor. But you've become that to us, all right? So I kind of want to know where you coming from. Like, how did you become a pastor? You know, like, what church are you pastoring now?
All right. Well, I grew up in church.
Yeah.
And my parents are pastors. And growing up in the church, you know, there was a time and a specific place where I felt a calling to the ministry. I was about 12 years old.
Really?
I was about 12 years old when I just decided that I wanted to give my heart to the Lord.
Yeah.
It was at one of our camps out here in like the Bakersfield area. And during that camp, just the Lord came over me, and I felt convicted at 12 years old, and I said, that's it, I'm gonna give my life to the Lord. And when I went to the altar, I prayed, and it was then that I felt something special over my life, and I knew that I wanted to be involved in ministry, and I don't know why, but specifically a pastoral ministry.
Yeah.
So it started at 12 when I gave my life to the Lord.
That's awesome. Wait, so, because I didn't know this about you. I didn't know that at 12. And another funny thing is, like, as part of the collective, most of us in the team are pastors. We're PKs, we're pastors' kids.
Yes.
So your dad was a pastor, you're telling me.
My dad is a pastor, and grew up in the Church of God of Prophecy, which I pastor a Church of God of Prophecy in the city of Orange.
Yeah.
And yes, my dad was a pastor. I was a pastor's kid, singing, playing instruments, and just sometimes not even doing things that I was supposed to do. But like I said, at this camp, this kids camp is where God just touched me, and I decided to give my life to the Lord. I felt this conviction come over me, and I felt a calling to specifically pastoring at that time.
At that age, huh?
At that age.
That's interesting. Interesting just because I don't know a lot of people who at that young age know what they're going to go into, you know?
Yeah.
Did you know what you were doing?
When I was told, no, bro. I wasn't really a Christian when I was told.
You know? So.
Because, I mean, most of the time people think, you know, it's like, it's just a camp.
Right.
Like, you're just going to go mess around. That's usually what you think, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, you know, even though you're in church, you know, sometimes you just have that feeling. But how did you feel that? Because it's like having that conviction to such a young age. It's...
Well, you know, as I was growing up in church, my parents were always very involved, and they loved people.
Yeah.
They loved working with people. They loved bringing people into the house, and that was
that's
something.
a story of pastors.
That was something like, you know, like I never had my own room. My brother, my sister, and I, we just never had our own room. Like my parents always brought people, and you know, I mean, there was this one time where we lived in a studio apartment. You know, we had like 15 people living in that studio apartment.
Wow.
I mean, my brother and I used to sleep under you know, those sofa beds?
Yeah.
You know, we used to have a family, like, stay on the actual sofa bed, and then my brother and I would sleep under it. Just, my parents always serving people. And I just developed this heart for people.
Yeah.
To serve them. to pray for them, just to be there for them when they had any specific need. And all my life, regardless of any issues, regardless of any setbacks, because with people there's always setbacks.
Yeah.
And but I'm one that I learned at a young age to forgive. I learned that God's purpose for us is to serve others.
Yeah.
And just that example of my father and my mother always just loving on people, and I have that passion. I have that passion for people, for young adults and elders, and I love to work with people. I love to serve them.
And it's
I
cool. Yeah.
It started at 12.
Wow. And it's cool because we've seen it. I guess whomever has been in one of the projects that we've done with Pop-Up Worship, they've seen you walking around, either praying. I think that's the first time that I saw you. Everybody was inside and you were just outside like, what's this guy doing? What's up with him? And because you were praying, right?
Yeah.
You were praying and we started talking. So how's that? Like, what's your role in Pop-Up Worship? Like, what do you do? Because to have that heart of serving people, it's rare to find nowadays. Yeah.
Well, like my role with Pop-Up Worship started, it just came about very organically.
Yeah.
Because my son, Caleb, which is part of the collective, was invited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I always support my son. I'm like his biggest fan.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it, but like I'm like his biggest fan.
Yeah.
But and so just going and being a part of the sessions and getting to know Tom and his wife Amy and just the other musicians and understanding what the collective was about.
Yeah.
This collective is about saving souls. It's about preaching the gospel. This collective is just not to do music and to entertain. So that really it was something that really touched me because I'm not about being a famous pastor or a famous preacher or anything like that. My role in the kingdom is to bring other people to the Lord.
Yeah.
And when the collective came about and I understood the purpose, which was to go out and just pop up in any location and serve people and preach the gospel through worship, I immediately wanted to just be a part of, but I didn't want to just like force my way in there because the invitation came to my son.
Yeah.
But as I started attending and I started to getting to know Tom and Amy and the other guys that play in the band, God just pushed me to start praying for the collective, to start praying for this ministry. And so I guess my role now is that I'm just a pastor that supports the collective, that is there for spiritual guidance, that is there to just help in that spiritual area, because as we minister to others, the devil is always he's upset because we're out there ministering to people and trying to preach this message through worship, which at one point we're going to help people take what the enemy took from them. And the devil's always mad. So I guess one of my roles is to pray for the collective, to be there for them, and to give counsel when it's needed, and to enjoy and to be there for them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, on a personal note, I really appreciate what you bring to the collective, just because I don't think I've ever told you, but deep conversations about what God puts in my heart, I've had them with you. I've had them with a couple of the guys, but not so much where it's different because you're a pastor and I respect you as so. And I've seen the heart you have to love people and to serve. I know that you're gonna have a sound advice and a sound counsel I'm gonna have coming from you. With the collective, I mean, we're all equals and we're all serving, and so it's more of like we're doing this and we have passion for this, and but with you it's more like kind of like what like a mentorship, and it is, because I my dad's also a pastor, but I always tell people like younger people like you have to have mentors in different areas in your life, like that's a big thing for me. My dad's I admire my dad in so many ways because he's a pastor, but at the same time, there's a fine line because he is my dad. He's gonna want me to do how he wants, other than somebody who's like neutral. In your case, I find that from you. I find neutral. Not only that, when we look at what we do, right? Like I always say, the simple way is that we spread the gospel through worship, right? Through music, and we do it outside of the church walls, just so that people who are not Christian can listen to the gospel.
Right.
But at the same time, when I think about you and you as part of the collective, you're there as somebody who I can trust that if we're the church, it's easy to just have the church take care of the people, right? We tell the church, we'll do altar call if there's one, and whoever comes up, can you follow up with them?
Right.
But when we're not at a church and we're at a different place that's not a church, and there's people who want prayer and stuff, that's where you come into play. That heart to care for people, because it's not the same. It's not that the musicians don't care for people and stuff, but it's just that we're so busy. We're leading worship, or we're on the guitar or the drums or whatever, and then you have to break down and all that. And we need that care, that genuine care for people, that we want to follow up with them and see how they're doing, and that's what we have from you, that special backing. And then what I was saying about the generational thing, you have to have mentors in different areas in your life. I strongly believe that. When I look at you, I see somebody who is in my shoes, but you're older, you have more experience. You're young, bro.
Not that old.
I'm not saying that you're old, but what I mean is like you're first generation American,
Yes.
right? We're Hispanics, we're Latinos, right? But you're first generation, meaning like I know how, like I'm looking at somebody like you and be like, oh man, Caleb is a great man. Adi, your daughter, is a great young girl. Like every time I see them, she gives me a hug. She's like, you can see that they are people who are raised right, and not only in, let's say, a church or spiritually, but just as people. So I have to look at that and I have to admire that. I've never told you that, but I have to be like, man, you can tell the type of person he is. He's loving and caring towards people, but his family also reflects that. His kids reflect that also. Like, Caleb is there when we need him. We talked about the other day, like, we all have different characters. We're all strong in some things we believe, but when you can tell the respect somebody has for you when you talk to them, and that only comes, I know, from whatever your parents teach you. Absolutely. So I admire that from you. I admire the heart that you have for people, and I admire the way that as somebody that I can look up to, because you're first generation also for me, so you understand the culture, and we care for the next generation coming. I was talking to some of the guys here at the podcast. I feel like the biggest thing that happens with our generation, or with the generation before us, that we've lost young people to the streets, let's say, to the world, because we're teaching them just church stuff and how to be at church and how to be Christians at church, but not outside of the church walls. So it's nothing genuine. So when they get old enough, they bounce.
Absolutely.
They go.
You know what? I was blessed. I can't say lucky. Yeah. I have to say that I was blessed that I was able to stay in church. Because nowadays there's just so much out there for young people. Yeah. That the world is just offering them so much, and I was just blessed to maintain, to stay serving the Lord, and it's amazing to see young people come to the Lord. Yeah. It's amazing to see young people come to the Lord, and I always ask myself, Raul, what is it that you can do, to be an example to your kids, to be an example so that they won't leave the Lord? And that's one of my prayers for Caleb. Because, as a musician, as he goes to school and as he becomes a professional, my prayer is always, Lord, that his heart stays in the right place. Yeah. in the right place, because the devil has so many things, the world has so many things out there to offer, but I thank God. I thank God for this collective, because as my son started getting involved, I could see God, dealing with him as well. And, but this collective is amazing. And I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for seeing that in my person.
Yeah.
And just so I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. And I believe that God is going to he's going to do amazing things through this collective.
Yeah.
That's great. Two things. First one, I didn't know you speak Spanish.
Absolutely.
You look güero, man. You look white. I'm like, wow, he speaks Spanish.
Soy taquero.
Oh, that's good, man. Well, you didn't make the tacos last time. There was someone else making tacos.
Yeah, that was somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Second thing, I know you have you're really close to musicians because you were a musician.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I've heard through the grapevine that you tour.
I did.
Yeah, you played with big people.
Well, I didn't play with. Yeah, you know what?
You did.
Oh, you played with Jesus, bro.
Yeah. Don't be humble. You did.
There was a time in my life. I've always liked music. My first instrument, believe it or not, I played the trumpet.
Wow. Yeah.
I played the trumpet. I picked up a little bit of the sax, and then somehow I picked up the drums.
Yeah.
And then I was a very young kid, and then my father became a pastor, and pastors' kids, they gotta help the dad,
Yeah.
So I started to learn how to play the piano, and I'm not that good, but I could defend myself, and at a certain time in my life, I played with this Christian artist that played Tex-Mex music.
Oh, okay.
And this guy, he was signed to a record label that Marcos Witt's production company called Con Ritmo, but it was part of Canción Productions.
Okay.
And this guy, his name is Joseph Cabanilla. Yeah. So he played he Tex-Mex music. We connected at a church, and we got to know each other, and he invited myself and my brother and a couple of friends to come and play with him. Yeah. So we practiced one day, we played, and he's like, okay, well, let's see if we could do something. So we started playing with him, and since this guy was in a time of his life where his music was being heard on the radio, and people were inviting him to churches. So long story short, he was signed by Marcos Witt's record label, and so we opened concerts for Marcos Witt. We opened concerts for Marcos Barrientos. Yeah. We played in different areas, maybe you could say iconic buildings in LA, like the sports arena, which is not there anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell how long was that.
Yeah.
The Great Western Forum, which is now, I don't know, the Nokia
or
something,
Kia.
or the Kia.
Forum, yeah.
You see, and we toured with him, and I was blessed. But at the end of the day, playing the keyboard for that specific band, and being able to see big concerts and a lot of people, I have to go back to when I got saved, and I felt in my heart that I had a specific calling in my life.
Yeah.
And that specific calling was to pastor and to work with people. So came a moment in my life where I had to realize and say, what is it that I really want to do?
Yeah.
Do I want to continue touring or playing, or do I want to just be in God's purpose and His will for my life? So I just decided that I needed to concentrate in my local church, in leadership in my local church, work, and develop music ministry in my local church. I was a teacher in my local church. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a youth director in my church, and pastoring was always my calling. But yeah, I had my fair share,
Yeah.
and maybe the collective will let me sing one of these days. I don't know.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know,
And
let's
you
do
already
it.
said it
Hey.
on air.
Yeah. Hey.
Featuring.
Yeah. We'll cut that out.
Yeah.
No. You know, I always, I tell the guys like, man, God puts. I know for a fact that God puts people in your way, to get things done, and you have to look at that. There's a reason why somebody becomes part of your life. Either they're gonna help you in ministry, or in your personal life, or you're gonna be able to help them. Because like you said, I strongly believe that we're supposed to serve people.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a Christian and you gave your heart to Christ, and you know you're a believer and you believe in, that nothing satisfies you more than to being able to help somebody, see God or know God, and on top of that, it's just fulfilling to serve people in any way that you can. So, you have that music background, which is dope. I didn't,
Yeah.
I kind of did, I didn't know that deep. That's cool. But then Caleb is your son, and he's way into music. We already had Caleb on a podcast, and it's like if God was already throughout the years like, all right, this is gonna go this way. Like, we had a conversation the other day where you brought that up. Like, you know what it is to go touring. You know what it is to do all that. So as a collective, our objective is not touring and doing all that, but we do understand that as we grow, those things happen, and we want to keep it genuine. So as a pastor, when I have the conversation with you, it helps me remind me. Like I tell AJ, like, always remind me why we do. Like, if you see something weird from me, let me know. Like, hey, we're going weird right here. That doesn't
Yeah.
go, because we have to keep each other on check. That it's just what it is, So on my end, it's like I can see how God puts things already in place since before, and I'm very appreciative of that. I always tell God, I pray for the people around me and my team, that God allows them to be as successful and to be a blessing in everything that we do, because it's very, very important. We can't just live I don't live to live,
Right.
it can't be that way. Because we know that there's a purpose. God has a plan. The Bible says he has a plan and a purpose, So it's like, when you believe that, then you understand that the people are key in your life.
Well, you know what? As children of God, we need to understand that, Jesus commissioned us. Whether you're a musician, whether you're a preacher, a teacher, it's like he commissioned us to go out and to preach the gospel. Yeah. So we can't forget that. We can't forget that just because, I'm not that great of a musician. My skills are not as developed as the collective. Now we have an amazing talent in the collective.
Yeah.
And but we need to be reminded that whatever talent that we have and whatever skills we have, we need to always be able to use those to spread the gospel. That's why Jesus gave us those talents, and that's one of my challenges with the collective, to always let them know, what you have and the talent that you have is God gave it to you for this purpose, to spread the gospel. And I try to always tell my son, because I try to mentor him, I try to be there for him, and like, he's way above where I was at my best. And he's still starting, he's very young. And I always try to make sure that his heart is in the right place, because you have an amazing talent in your hands. It doesn't mean that, that you're it and that's everything. I mean, the Bible says that God himself, through Jesus Christ, came to this world not to be served, but to serve. Yeah. So as a collective, that's one of the things that I love and I appreciate about this team.
Yeah.
Because we're not here to be on a stage, or we're not here to be recognized by people. We're here to serve.
Yeah.
We're here to to spread the gospel, and that's one of the things that I love about being part of this collective in this specific role. We're here to serve. We're here to serve, and that's one of my roles, man. That's one of my roles to just keep everybody on with their feet on the ground.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we do have amazing talent.
Yeah.
We do have amazing talent here, and but yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Even I'm even surprised that I'm in this podcast right now.
No, why? No. It's because when we started with Age of the podcast, we talked about like, well, the main thing for me is leaving. I want to document something genuine, right?
Absolutely.
I feel like pop-up worship and the collective is. I don't want to lose the why we do what we do. It's genuine. Is we just want to spread the gospel through music, and then as the team grows and stuff, and people are the part of the collective, I can see how it's amazing what we can leave for our, like, most of us have kids, or we're serving like our younger generation, and I feel like I don't want to lose my kids, to the world, but I understand that the culture and the whole world is on top. It's like they're on top of them. Like, so it's not a fear, but I do ask God, like, give me wisdom and guide me to be able to teach my kids to love you over everything else, but love people too.
Right.
And not be weird, like be light in the world.
Yes.
So I feel like this is kind of what that is. Like I think about the future, and I think my kids in 10 years, they can go back and see this and see the type of people that surrounded me, and what I was, around to, what we think about the gospel and God and being genuine. Because we're, like we were talking about, we're not all from the same denominations. Like, we're like people that aren't Christian or that aren't, they're not gonna know what that means. But it's like I said it last time, it's a body of Christ. We're all the same body, but we have different roles, different parts. Right. But we have to love each other. Like,
absolutely. I mean, in the collective, I have a couple members here. Andy, who plays the guitar, he's part of my congregation. Caleb is my son, part of my congregation. But we have Casto, who is part of a different organization. Yeah. We all have different ways of thinking, or we have different theologies. There's different ways of how we interpret the Bible. Yeah. But we all understand that we're washed with the blood of Jesus Christ. Yeah. We all like have that blood, and that's what unifies us, the blood of Jesus. And when we are a part of an event, or when we are a part of any worship session or anything, we don't discuss theology. We don't discuss our, what we believe, or like, or you're, none of that. What we come together and do is present the gospel of Jesus Christ, and the gospel of Jesus Christ is very simple. Yeah. It's just that, we present Jesus as, the Son of God who came and died, and not only did he die, he rose at the third day and ascended to heaven, and he will come back again. Yeah. And that's what the gospel is. That's, in a nutshell, that's the gospel. Yeah. I mean, everything else that we see and that we hear, sometimes just scares people away. and we have so many people that, they're scared to come to a church. They're scared to be a part of an organization because of their beliefs, because they're too strict, because of so many things. But the collective, we don't emphasize on that. We emphasize in that Jesus came, he died, and we're washed through his blood, and that he ascended to heaven with power and glory, and that he's going to come back, and that we have an opportunity to be with him, and that our life can be different and change. And that's what the collective, that's what we present to the people that we minister to. Yeah. We don't present anything else. No. And that's the beauty of this collective.
Yeah, it is.
That's great. I was going to ask you something. So basically, because many times in church, we like to invite people and we're like, yeah, it's a great testimony. He was this and he was that. And God took him out of there. But sometimes we don't emphasize on the people that actually, como dice Pablo, que estuvieron en la carrera. You know, like since they were a child, you know, desde que estaban pequeños, you know, they were just right there. How do you think that shaped you? Because you never really left, right? You've always been a Christian. Y siempre ha sido constante. So how do you think that shaped you to be a good pastor? You know, because it's like the advice that you give, it's always sound, good advice. I was telling Tom, I'm like, you speak the truth. You don't speak it. You spit it. You spit this. So it's like you tell it how it is, you know. And how do you feel that shape you? You know, no haberse salido del camino. You know, always being there.
Well, you know, in my walk with the Lord, like I said, I gave my life to the Lord when I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
I had my moments, you know, through junior high and high school, where I tried to leave, but just when God has you, like He always pulls you back.
Yeah.
But in my experience being a pastor's son, I've seen so many things.
Yeah.
And one thing that my parents always pressed upon me was, you know, you need to love, you need to forgive, and you need to serve. But that never kept me from seeing the things that were around me, the good things, the bad things, the really bad things. You know, like there's always like really bad things that we experience because people, how can I say this not to sound really bad, but, you know, humans are evil to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know, we got to remember that we're fallen creatures.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
part of our nature to just care only about myself.
Yeah,
and just me first. And
absolutely.
You
So
Yeah.
I seen a lot throughout my childhood.
Yeah.
And as I grew up, like I said, there's a special calling upon my life. That's why I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna concentrate in trying to tour, trying to be a musician over there, and trying to go here. There was a calling upon my life, and I think that being able to listen to God and being obedient to my parents and being involved in a sound church and surrounding myself by people that, you know, understood that their calling allowed me to stay.
Yeah.
Because whenever, like, I made decisions on my own and that I knew that were not right, because, you know, we make decisions that we know that are not correct. You know, sometimes we say we're gonna do things that are not right, and then we bump our heads, and but just being guided correctly with the people around me, ministers and youth leaders in my life. People that loved the Lord, my parents, absolutely, just my parents. It was a great help to stay focused. And I'm not that old, but I'm 43 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 43 years old, but like I said, in my life, in my ministry, I've seen so many things. So when I sit down with a group of people and they ask me for my advice, or I see somebody trying to make a decision, and I feel compelled to letting them know the truth, what the Bible says, and also what I've seen through my experience. Because I feel that we live in times where, you know, everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants to be known, everybody wants to be famous. I mean, how many people do you have on TikTok every day or on Instagram and just doing videos and you know, and you know, so I try to, like I say, I just try to keep it real, and I try to, you know, put people back like with their feet on the ground and say, you know what, God is always first, your family, your local church, and God is going to open the right doors for you, but just make sure you are walking in His will, because as soon as we deviate from what God has for us, God starts preparing the next person, because His will is going to be done regardless or not.
Yeah, you were telling us that earlier.
You know, so
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You gotta be careful.
but you know, that's just the way I am. My mom was just a bit crazy, you know. She would just tell it like it is, you know. And sometimes I get in trouble, you know. Sometimes people are like, "Man, I don't like that pastor," you know. You know, I don't like what he said, or But in ministry, I've had people say, "Why are you telling me this is none of your business?" Or like, I'm just letting you know, you know, because I've seen this happen. And then 2-3 months later, they come, "Oh, Pastor, I'm sorry. You know, like I should have listened." You know, I'm human. I make mistakes. But if I could serve somebody and I could help them in ministry, I'm gonna do it, even if they don't like me for a little bit.
That's deep. That's deep.
Which it comes with the territory, right? That sometimes people are like, oh, like you said, you're getting too involved in my life. But at the end of the day, you know, I've seen God's hand de que siempre apoya that man of God. You know, because it's like, it's crazy.
You know, it's funny. I just remembered one day, one of those times that I wanted just to do me, you know, like that's what people say. Oh, let me do me, you know. And you know,
let me live my truth.
My dad was like, you know, oh, okay, you know, you want to do your thing, go. But when you're a block away, I'm gonna come back and te voy a traer a patadas, you know. You know, like that was just like, you know, my dad was always like, you know, yeah, you want to do this, but I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you. And I thank God because, you know, when you get older, you realize that if he would have let me, man, I probably would have got lost. I probably would have got lost. And, you know, I try to be like that with my son and with my daughter. Like, okay, you know, you want to do your thing? Well, go, and then I say, but no, I'm not gonna let you. You know? You know, just the other day I was talking to my son, and I think you were there, and I said, yeah, you could go do this, but then I'll call and have them fire you. You know, because I have plans for you. God has a special calling over your life. And you know what? When we are in charge of something and God has given us like the gift of our children, you know, we need to protect them. It doesn't matter who gets upset. It doesn't matter if they get upset, you know. And in my role in this collective, I feel that it doesn't matter if any of the collective gets a bit upset because my role is to care for their soul as a pastor.
Of course. You know,
I want the best for them. You know, I want us to be in heaven. And I want the collective to be playing in front of Jesus. You know, and for nobody to be lost. You know?
Definitely.
I mean, that's what we're gonna do. I mean, when we get to heaven, I mean, I'm not planning to stay in this earth forever. I mean, I'm 43. One of these days, you know, the Lord's gonna call me. But the plan is to be with him and to worship him. And one at a time. I mean, we'll have the pop-up collection in heaven one of these days, you know. But that's my role. I want to make sure that, you know, I could be a blessing to this team.
Man, I appreciate that, man. It's just a quick story. I think AJ doesn't know the story, but we were doing a session in the city of Orange at a church. You remember that? And we got there and we started doing sound check. Okay. And sound check, bro, David gets on the bass, right?
Oh, yeah.
Poof. Pops the whole thing, bro. There's no sound. And, bro, I think it's sound check, so it was like 2 hours before like we start the session. And there's no sound at the church. That's all they had. And all the subs are out. The speakers are popped.
Everything was
What are we going to do?
Wow.
And immediately, pastor's like, let's get a truck. Let's go to my church. Get all the stuff from the church. They have brand new sound at church. Bring it over, and we made it happen. I tell you that story because that's what it takes. Like, it's not only like, how do I say this? Like, but it's that love, that respect is earned because you serve. Like, when I think about like Jesus, like we talked about that he washed their feet, and he was their leader. He was like he was a boss, but he was washing the disciples' feet, teaching them, like showing them, like I love you this much. Like, so then obviously that loyalty, that love was earned, because he taught them. When I tell you that, when I say that story, it's because I remember that night I was like, that's what's up. Like, I got this
Exactly.
powerful person on my team that is like, we gotta make this happen. There's no like, oh well, like all of us were like, oh, who do we call? Can we hire somebody to go get the sound? Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
But within 2 hours, it's like very little time.
Yeah.
But the heart to serve and make that happen, because you understand the vision, because you understand why we're doing it. And I feel like anybody, even me, I'm not a pastor, but if I had my church and it was all set up with sound and everything, I think twice about like, should I let these guys use it? He just popped this he just popped this whole sound. But the heart to serve, man, I really love that. I appreciate that. I love you, man. I think you know that by now.
Absolutely. And I love you too. I love your family.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you.
I love the collective.
Yeah, and we all have this mutual, I feel like love and respect for you as
Thank you.
as we call you, you're the Papa Worship Pastor.
Yeah.
I always say, bro, when we start a church, I'm waiting on him to be the pastor, bro.
Yeah.
I'll start the Papa Worship Church, but he got to be the pastor.
Yeah.
But man, yeah. You have another question for him?
No. I mean, I think it's been great having you, getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm basically new to the collective. I haven't been with the guys that long. So I mean, it's cool to see that heart, because sometimes pastors, a few pastors. I'm not gonna. In general,
Trying to bash on pastors.
bashing the pastors. No, but they see young people and they want to serve and they want to do it and they want to jump. It's like you see a goat jumping and they just run away from them. They're like, oh no, like, and you have that heart, but how do you come to it? Like, because I don't know if you're like that with everybody. You must have seen something special in pop-up. I don't know if or you're like that with everybody in general. You see someone, you're like, okay, let's do it. Yeah, and
Well, like I said, I started ministry very young. I love people. I love to serve.
yeah,
I love to serve, and like I said, I am who I am because I understand the calling that
Yeah.
God has given me.
Yeah.
I understand the calling, and just to be, just to see the passion that the leaders, Tom and Amy, have for this collective, and
Yeah.
and the drive that they have to invest their own financials
yeah,
to spread the gospel.
definitely.
It just touches my heart, and I'm always gonna be that pastor to be like, okay, maybe I haven't been blessed that way, but whatever God has given me,
Yeah,
what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
What can I do to serve and to help and fulfill that dream or that vision that God has given you? So I'm like that all the time.
Okay.
I see a young person that is wanting to do something. What can I do to make sure that you could go to the next level? You know why? Because people poured into me.
wow, yeah,
People poured into me, and I can't not pour into others.
Yeah.
Because you see, I believe that when you have the right heart, our job as leaders is to allow other people to shine. And there's a lot of people that want to shine themselves. And I'm not that type.
yeah,
Like I said, I have this heart for service. And just before we end here or something, I'll in my denomination, Church of God of Prophecy, we have about 125 churches in California. And we always have conventions. We have so many things going on throughout the state events. I had been appointed to direct the worship team for all of our churches. And just because I was the director, I didn't take that as an opportunity to be in front of the stage and to sing.
yeah,
Because all I wanted to do was serve. I wanted other people to shine. So I would just put everything together, try to get the best musicians, the best singers, help them out, put them together, so that they could worship God, they could take people to the presence of God, and that they can shine.
Wow.
So whenever I think about young people wanting to do something for Christ, whenever I see somebody that has talent or that has a calling, I try to be there to pour in, because that's what God called us to do, to make disciples.
Yeah.
It's not about us.
Yeah.
It's about everybody else. It's about Him.
Yeah.
Wow. So to land this plane, we had Caleb here on the first podcast, and I asked him something. What advice would you give to someone, to anyone? It could be an advice that someone gave you. It could be to Tom. It could be to me. It could be to young people. It could be even to Caleb, to your daughter. What do you think is a good, general advice?
A general advice that I would give them from a pastor's perspective is to remember who your Creator is. That He gave us life. And that as we grow up, we tend to sin. And as life continues, we need to understand that even though we have sinned, He gave His only begotten Son so that we could be saved, so that we could be forgiven. So my general advice would be to never forget who God is, what He did for you, and what He can do for you, for your family, for your future. I'm not going to say anything else because it's all about Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, if you understand who created you and who died for you so that you could have everlasting life, or that you could have a joyful life before He comes, you know, you're on the right track. So never forget that you can't do anything on your own. Everything we do, we can do through Christ, who is our strength.
That's deep.
Man, you want to accept Christ right now, bro? We pray for you right now.
He convinced me.
Well, man, it was a pleasure having you, Pastor.
Thank you, Tom.
I appreciate you making the
Thank
time
you,
to join
Adrian.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And being here and for your words. And like I said, we love you. And I'm glad that people are going to get to see, you know, not just like musicians and who's up there, but the people behind, the people who make it happen.
Yeah,
you know?
man. And like I said, I hope I get featured on one of these events
Yeah,
one of these
exactly.
days, right?
Play the piano.
Hey, but just to go, the last question. Did you ever have to wear a Tex-Mex hat and the boots and all that?
I did. You know what? It was funny because we opened a concert for Marcos Witt in San Jose, California.
Yeah.
And
We need pictures.
no, it's funny. You know what? I probably have one on one of the CDs.
Hey, bro, but you from LA, born and raised, bro.
Bro, but it was funny because you know what?
Don't wear that.
We had after
Come
the
on.
concert, it was like a Christmas concert. And then
Also, is it a Christmas hat or an
no,
actual Tex-Mex?
an actual Tex-Mex hat. And you know what? It was time for us to we played, and then Marcos Witt came up there and did his thing, and then we were like, okay, we were watching, and we were like, oh man, we're gonna miss the plane. We gotta go. So we left the auditorium, right? And you know, it was funny because we had to take it was like a train that would leave us at the airport. The train was like right across the street from the auditorium. Yeah. And it was funny because it was like six of us running across the street with hats and everything. And we were like, whoa, you know, it was just a funny thing, you know, you had to be there. But yeah, you know, I was like, I can't believe that, you know, I had to put on a Tejana, you know, like really, you know, but yeah, I wore it and I wore the boots.
So now you know.
Now you know. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, it was a pleasure having you, like I said.
Amen.
God
Thank
bless
you guys.
Yeah.
God bless you guys.
We'll see you guys on the next one.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Pop Worship.